You're watching Experience Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
What's up, the internet? I'm Toad, the not Dan Wickline, who's not here today. And because he has a puppet of Kyle, Kyle had to get a Toad plushie to... Look, Dan's not here. Jay and I read all the books. It's going to be a weird day because Jay's too agreeable and I hate everything. Can we cancel the show now? This is In Stores This Week, where we talk about new books that are in stores this week. I'm coming to you live from my house because a tree hit a T-Mobile telephone line, so my office doesn't have internet. It's gonna be a week, guys. I could just tell you now. This is In Stores This Week. I'm having a real bad time, Jay.
Yeah, I know. But I will tell you this, I might not be as agreeable with these books as one might think.
Here, should we do a little show and tell before we get into the books?
Yes.
Since there's not a little... No. J.D. Smith, a tree hit a T-Mobile cell tower, which is where the fiber internet that runs to my office is routed from. And so, therefore, I have no internet at my office. All right, let's do show and tell. I'm gonna do like this here. Take Jay off screen for a minute. All right. So I just got back from Cherry Capital Comic-Con, and I have some goodies. And because I don't have another opportunity to do this, I'm going to do this. So from Seth the Moose.
Oh, nice.
That is 1, 2, 3, and my favorite, it's time to chop the salad. Then I got a CCA there from the Cherry Capital Comic-Con. That is a jam piece. So it's Jay Fosgett and Seth the Moose, TMNT and Usagi Yojimbo on TMNT Usagi Yojimbo. And then the last thing I got, Jay, you're awful quiet. Did you get anything from Comic Palooza?
Oh yeah, I did. We're collecting some more of it now.
Nice. So from Corinne Roberts, Sandman. Oh, I see what's happening. This is why Jay's been quiet. He sent Han to get his pieces from Comic Palooza. And he didn't want me to hear Han going all over the house getting his stuff. Is that what's happening?
Maybe.
Am I giving Han credit for Jenna's work?
Yes. Oh.
Comic Palooza was in Houston. Cherry Capital Comic-Con was in Traverse City, Michigan, J.D. Smith.
At the George R. Brown Convention Center for Comic Palooza.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's see what you got, Jay.
Oh, okay. First of all, I just want to show this off. This is my second year going to this, my second con ever. So here's my badge because we got the weekend passes. This is done by an artist named Bowie. Super cool. And they actually had prints of this kind of hanging around that you could buy. We didn't get those though.
See, this is how you could tell Jay's still new at the convention thing.
Yeah.
I have no idea where my badge is. I never wore it all weekend. Like, it's just a thing. Like, I have hundreds and hundreds of badges hanging in my room. So I'm like, if I add one more to it, it may cause structural damage.
Let's see. On Jenna cosplayed. She's gonna hold up. She cosplayed as a biker Harley Quinn. Here's the exhibitor badge that she got from last year, and I don't even know where the other one's at. I got a black cat one too from last year too.
And then all of these are more.
Yeah. And then we got just another little secret about my wife. She loves stickers. So we hit up so many different sticker places. Stickers, and there's earrings. I mean, there's just all kinds of stuff. And then we actually did get some comics.
Jay, those earrings will look good on you, man.
Yeah.
They really go with your overall aesthetic.
Well, I think my holes might have closed up. I used to have my ears pierced.
Just jam them through, man. It'll be fine.
I'm actually wearing Dan Price was there. Got me a Bigfoot Nose Karate shirt. Got me a couple of we got a couple of comics. This one's called Here Comes Calico. It's about not animal abuse. That's not what I'm trying to say.
Animal rescue.
Animal rescue. There you go.
No, it's run by an animal rescue.
There you go. Then we had a person from a place called Eaton Comics, and just Jenna couldn't pass these up. So got both of these. New creator. That's one thing I really love about these cons, is having books I would never see anywhere else. Then we stopped by. I got to meet Henri and Chuck Pino in person. I've only ever seen either one of them on screen. They're both amazing. I loved it. They were both great. And there was a gentleman.
I've shared a hotel room with Henri. I can apologize for him.
Well, Henri was great. It was great to see him in action. Like,
that's true. It's like nothing you've ever seen before.
Yes. But Chuck was tabling with a guy named Doug. I think it was Doug Brown.
Mm-hmm.
So Jenna picked up his comic Stormy. Really interesting. Like I said, it was just, we got stickers, and then we found a place that had rubber ducks, and outside of the Flash, we got most of the Justice League in rubber duck form. So it was the last day of the con. They were only $1. Also, the other cool thing that I really, really like, this will be the last thing I show off, is there's this place called Pecos Pete's. It's a soda thing. Now, this is my cup from last year. You buy these, they're like, bless you, they're like $35, but you get free refills for the entirety that you're there, right? So I brought this from last year, paid $5 or $6, and then got free refills the whole weekend. Super smart, and the stuff they have is delicious. They have a root beer, they have lemonade, tea, all that kind of stuff. Jenna got hers. Ooh, hers is actually right here, and hers has, I don't know how well you can see that, but a dragon on it. Mine was just like that. Oop, there we go. That little design there. But yeah, super.
What was the name of the guy? Real quick, Jay. What was the name of the guy that Chuck was tabling with?
I think it was Doug Brown. Yes, Doug Brown.
You have his book.
Okay, not the guy I was thinking of. Okay, cool. I just, that would have been a remarkable coincidence, because a guy named Doug won the Gary Reed Award. So, not the same guy.
Yeah, that was my second con. Not this weekend, but the weekend after. We're going to Dallas Fan Expo. So that'll be my third con I've ever been to my entire life. And I've always said, as a very socially anxiety person, I didn't feel that way. But the best part of my con experience was that Jenna didn't work it. Like, we helped load in and load out. But Jenna and I got to spend the whole weekend together doing this. So it was amazing. Super, super cool.
I'm getting blown up. by trying to confirm this.
Mm.
But no, different guy. Okay. So let's get into the books because John wants to know about Pathfinder and I want to tell him.
Yes.
But let's start with a book that features fish people.
Oh,
Robin Hood, spawn of... Look, that's a Cthulhu word
Yeah.
right there.
Nyarlathotep.
Right. 30 pages of content was not an appropriate amount of content. It should have been 32 or 22. 30 was just not right. John, I'm not saying anything about Pathfinder. Not yet. But needless to say, this book has a Cthulhu monster in it. So Jay hated it. I thought it was fine. Robin Hood is my favorite of the Zenescope ladies. That's not saying a lot because I mostly dislike them.
Mm.
But this was a good kind of... If you ignore the fish people, it was a solid C. If you hate the fish people, it's an F. If you love fish people, it's an A. It's one of those books that there is no kind of middle ground on it.
Yeah. Look, if you're a fan of the series, pick it up. I am not a fan of this series, but the reason is I remember the first series of Robin Hood that I read and how great that was. This just makes me angry. No, it's not that. It's just it feels like, because JD Smith is asking if I had a bad incident with fish sticks. No, it's just it feels like it's becoming it's spread across all of Zenescope where they have to fight Cthulhu and fish people. But I'm going to be honest with you. The very first panel, my first thought was that kid's head is too big for their body. I thought the heads were very, very disproportionate. The art style was kind of strange. I'm not.
Some of the art had some weeble wobble.
Yeah, and I'm not an artist by any stretch of the imagination, but even still, I was like, that looks very disproportionate. And then, not even 3 panels later, tentacles. I really try to keep an open mind, but like I said, as much as I enjoyed the first run of this I read, I was like, man, I wish you would just go back to that. I really enjoyed Robin Hood to begin with, but this book, just not for me.
Yeah, this is one of those. No, it wasn't. It isn't that. It's the art style. JD Smith. It's the person draws heads almost like a kid would draw heads. They're a little rounder and a little bigger than they need to be to the rest of the proportions. If this had been drawn by, say, J. Scott Campbell, the heads would have been breasts. Like, it's that kind of disproportion. Everything looks fine. It's just like your scale is wrong.
Yeah.
It was what it was. I do think this is better than some of the Zenescope we've had of late, but it's not spectacular. All right. Pathfinder Wake the Dead. So before we get into this, Jay, do you have any experience with Pathfinder?
Absolutely not.
Okay. So why don't you go first?
Okay. Because the first thing I wrote on here was, I know nothing of Pathfinder. But I dug this. I think the dwarf and the bard, I think those are going to be my favorite characters if we keep up with them in this series. The art is good, but there are a few panels that are definitely a little wonky. Like, arms don't bend that way. There's a scene with a screaming sword that's really cool. but the elbow is like bent up a little too far. Like the arm looks weird. Maybe I'm seeing it wrong, but the arm looks super strange to me. But again, I don't know anything about this universe, and I think that helps me. There's a lot of books that are like that sometimes. If I don't know anything about the universe, they can basically throw whatever they want in there, and if it looks good, I'm like sold, because I thought the gore was cool. I thought it was a solid first issue. So
my relationship with Pathfinder is interesting because I've played a ton of Pathfinder. For anybody who doesn't know what Pathfinder is sort of like the open source alternative to Dungeons and Dragons. If you didn't want to play with the real strict, stringent rules that Dungeons and Dragons had to offer for a long time, Pathfinder was your go-to because they were a little more chill. You could play as character types you couldn't play as in Dungeons and Dragons. You could go places you couldn't go in Dungeons and Dragons. Things like that. And then years later, Pathfinder was adapted into Starfinder, which let you, for the first time, basically play D&D in space. So it is a very popular and well-loved IP. The story really plays into the lore and the knowledge of the IP. I think not knowing anything about Pathfinder is going to go one of two ways for people. Either, like Jay, it's going to make them interested in it, or it's going to turn them off. I don't think there's any middle ground with this book in terms of its relationship to what it is, if that makes any sense at all. I think the one problem this book has, for me at least, is something Jay talked about, but I think we saw it in the same way, but differently, in that in some of the panels, in the interest of having the action look interesting, the art is a little slapdash. Joints and things look hyperextended as opposed to properly, drawn. But it's done in the interest of showing just how ferocious or crazy the scene is. You're holding that sword, and the way it's drawn is meant to give you the appearance of the sword is incredibly heavy.
Okay.
Right, but it doesn't really come across that way. It just comes across as odd. But when you really slow down and look at it, you're like, oh, okay, I get it now. So having a knowledge of Pathfinder is going to be super helpful. Overall, really fun story. I really dig something this book has that is something I wish they do in the Dungeons and Dragons book and the Magic the Gathering books and so many of these other IPs. Exclusive Pathfinder RPG character options included. If you like the character in this book, you can roll them up and play them.
Yeah.
That's huge. That's gargantuan, especially for role players, because now I could take this character I like from the book and throw it into my campaign. And that's super fun, and that's a huge plus. Overall, for this book, for me, was a good time. I enjoyed it. I thought the look was good. I thought you did have to slow down at times to kind of figure out what was happening.
Yeah.
In terms of the art, especially. But the storytelling was solid. Dynamite is doing a good job with this particular IP of kind of shuttling it across the line. I'll be interested to see where the story goes. And I'll be interested to try to convince Jay to join the long-awaited, much-anticipated, long-talked-about Kyle and Dan host an RPG night on the EXP show. So, my answer to John Spilios is, it's good. Barbarella, the center cannot hold. I will go first on this one because Jay went first on the last one, and I will say this. I've been saying thus far that if they made this their next Barbarella movie, they would do all right. I'm going to amend that statement and say maybe don't. This book had a little too much dancing dangerously close to this is going to turn pornographic. This book had a little too much of the we forgot to make Barbarella sexy in the last couple of issues and just made her interesting, so we need to make her sexy again, and still somehow tried to maintain the interesting, and they didn't do a great job of it. The best character, I think, in the story takes a turn in this book that I don't necessarily agree with. And I'm trying not to spoil things.
Yeah.
But, like, I hope that this book is a swerve where it goes, why? I don't like this anymore. Why is it changing? It's changing. Stop changing. Only to turn around in the next issue and be like, ha, we got you. That would be great. That would make this book infinitely better. But if the series continues from here, I'm over it.
Yeah. This felt like a Doctor Who on acid Skinamax late night space parody.
Hey, you finally understand Barbarella.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not that this was terrible, but it's one of those of all the books that don't go past 4 issues, why does this one? Like the art's nice, but the story's kind of boring, and it's sex not only sells, but apparently it saves the universe. And while that might be true in some cases, pardon the pun, this was just an anticlimactic ending to this book. To at least this issue. I know it's not over yet, but it's one of those things where with some of the bangers that Dynamite has been putting out lately, this one just doesn't grab me anymore. So,
Ed, is help a student a euphemism for get more booze?
I mean, he is a teacher, so
I understand, but like
it could
it's
be
summer vacation.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. All right. Gargoyles number 6.
Okay. I thought this was a decent issue. Not terrible, not great, but decent. But I can also understand why people wouldn't like it. This book really is one of those you'd have to had watched the series or knew have some basic knowledge about it. But it's getting to the point now where it feels like they're introducing a new character like every single issue. And just finish the story you started, because it feels like Goliath has been in prison for like 10 issues now, and this is only issue 6. Like, Goliath has done really nothing for the last 3 or 4 issues, it feels like. And for me personally, Goliath is your main draw. It's Goliath. Goliath's the main character of this. But it feels like they want to try to do something else, but they're trying to do too much at the same time. So I completely get if people are like, this isn't for me. But again, if you've been enjoying the series, I would still get this. That's just me, though.
I have some advice for Dynamite. Stop making this book and pray Disney doesn't read the last 2. Or they're not going to let you make any more.
Fair. It's fair.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. The thing that makes these books, Darkwing Duck, Gargoyles, Scar, the new Maleficent book. So many of these books good is you're trading on people's nostalgia, and people need to be able to hear the voices of the characters in their head when they read them. When you read Scar, you hear Jeremy Irons. When you read Maleficent, you hear whichever Maleficent's voice you like. When I read Gargoyles, the fact that I can't hear the voices in my head because they don't sound the same is a problem. Yeah. You're no longer getting me with nostalgia because you're spitting on it almost. It's a huge problem. And the next book we're going to talk about is the exact right way to do it. And this book started off that way. You don't have to tread new ground all the time. No. And at the same time, Dynamite puts out so many beautiful covers for these books that, again, I worry that they forgot that the inside matters. It was, John, but that was 30 years ago, 20 years ago. Like, he's not writing, the voices aren't the same. And I get that that's Weissman's voice may not be the same. But if you're going to sell me a nostalgia product, it needs to be nostalgia. And this isn't. Now, if you want to say the further adventures of the new Gargoyles, okay. This feels like this. This feels like what it would be. You know, shit, my hats are all at the office. And I'm at home. So, like I said, for me, this is just, it's a swing and a miss on the nostalgia thing. It's a swing and a miss on the storytelling. The only reason I keep buying Gargoyles is because there's always a cover I want. But I tell you what, we're 6 issues in, and that only goes so far. I won't buy another issue just because of a cover. Got to make sure the insides match the outsides. All right. So while I go get a hat so that Ship doesn't spaz, Jay, why don't you tell us what's happening on the Triangle of Truths this week?
So we're gonna have. I've had unboxings from Kickstarters coming in. I think I've done like 6 or 7 unboxings. We got Kickstarter unboxings that came in. We got the Garrett Gunn Patreon that came in. Just got another book today. Pretty sure I got another book. Like, it's just been unboxings. Sean's kind of out for the week right now, dealing with some family stuff. But yeah, it's just unboxing videos. I've done so many, I can't even remember how many I've actually done. I just know I had a stack here. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to wear the same shirt and just do all the videos at one time.
There you go. This is the only hat I have at the house. It's my winter, I have to shovel the snow hat.
And then on Space Cadets, the ladies are back together. Bean was doing her exams to graduate and all that jazz. So she was gone for the week before, I believe. They're still talking about Renfield. Renfield gets mentioned at least once. What the actual main topic was a while back when they first got started, they decided they were going to choose jobs within comic book universes, who they would work for. Jenna decided to revisit that. So they did that. Really fun episode, but yeah, that's about all we got on our end.
Yesterday we did our first AMA on the Devil's Advocate show. That was a pretty good time. I had to do it from a library parking lot because of the aforementioned internet issues, which was pretty fun for me. I'll be honest, my elbow still hurts from having to lean into my phone like this. But next week, Bronze Age Nerd is on vacation, so we have a fill-in, and it's that guy. And Jane, I just decided our topic today, and I already forgot what it is. Oh yeah, I remember now. Our interconnected universe is a problem, and the answer is find out Monday on Devil's Advocates. We'll be back in 2 weeks with Devil's Advocates when Chris is back, where we will be talking about has the Comic-Con bubble busted, or what do we think the future holds for Comic-Cons? So tune in for that then. What else should I be promoting, Jay?
Let's see. What's going on with the art show Friday?
Art.
Is it something we can talk about? Just art? Okay.
Art. There's no Mint Hunter later tonight. That's something we can mention real quick. Congratulations to James on his wedding.
Absolutely.
He's on his honeymoon. I suggested he do a show from his honeymoon, but we wouldn't be able to put that on YouTube. So that's the thing. No, I'm kidding. I'm pretty sure his wife wouldn't let him go comic hunting on his honeymoon. But yeah, we just got great shows. Now, a week from yesterday, next Monday, we have Chip and David, the founders of Distillery, joining us on Talking Show.
I'm excited for that one.
Yeah. Something about the Mona Lisa and a McFarlane Spidey homage. Ed, I have no idea what you're talking about.
But I did like
Jay,
Renfield.
Have you seen her? I have not yet seen Renfield. I am, after we get off the air tonight, after Minute to Skim It is over, I will be watching the Dungeons and Dragons film now that it's on Paramount Plus.
Again, not knowing too much about it, I liked it.
I've told there are many gelatinous cubes, and that's all I need. So we will see from there what's up. And we will let you guys know about it. So we're going to get back to the books. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Sunday Morning Adventures. Okay. You know how I just did this whole like up on a soapbox rant about if you're going to do a nostalgia book, it should be freaking nostalgic? Mm-hmm. Well, welcome to writeinthefields.com, 1-800-writeinthefields.com, whatever. This is it. Okay? This is, I'm not kidding, I haven't watched the TMNT cartoons since they were on originally. But I love them so much, I can still hear the voices of all the voice actors when I read this book. This feels like exactly what you expect when you see Saturday Morning Adventures, and then you see Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. You can hear the theme song throughout this book. It looks just like the Archie stuff. It looks just like the animated stuff. It looks like that weird period where TMNT originalists were like, this is kiddie, but awesome. I couldn't even tell you what happened in this story because it felt like, you know that thing when you put on a weighted blanket and you feel like at peace? This is that for me. Like, I couldn't even tell you if the story is good or bad because it doesn't matter. It was perfect. Jay?
Well, the story was great. It just, it was, I heard the voices in my head, and I loved every cheesy second of it. This book for IDW is how Darkwing Duck is for Dynamite. This, for me personally, was actually the best book of the week. I absolutely loved it. And, this is how I remembered, Shredder, Bebop, Rocksteady, Splinter, the Turtles, and April. This is how I remember it. And, for fans of the Turtles comics, though, this mimics the cartoon so well that, it's definitely different from the comic version of the Turtles. So maybe for some, I know there are some people that are like, I only like the cartoon, don't like any of the comics, or vice versa. But I just thought this was an awesome first issue. Like, don't need to worry about reading that other Saturday morning adventure one. Let's just keep this one. Let's keep this one.
I like the Dungeons and Dragons one too.
See, and that one was okay, but for me, it didn't. Like, I hadn't seen too many of those cartoons. Like this one, I remember when Rob Paulson was Raphael, and now he's Donatello in the Nickelodeon one.
Right, and no, I think this one is definitely targeted at Jay and I's age group, whereas the D&D one is targeted maybe at more Ed's age group. You know, a difference of a couple of years there, but just so good. Okay, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Have we been reading this?
I think that I remember one issue.
Okay.
Because that's exactly what I put in my notes.
This was a very light week, so we had to read some books we might not have otherwise read.
No.
And in fact, we read one book to save Dan the trouble of having to read it later. But this book to me felt like if you made a Star Wars book and it was also like a 1970s exploitation film,
Mm-hmm.
you know, or like, you know, like Foxy Brown, or more modern movie, The Hebrew Hammer. Like, it's got that kind of whiz bang kind of feel to it.
Yeah.
It didn't feel Star Warsy. Not a good story though, very good story. But none of it was connected to anything I know. I didn't feel connected to the book, so all I was left with was this feeling of, this is a Star Wars outlier, and I don't know what to do with it. So it made it a tough read. It made it a tough thing to say yay or nay on. But definitely a solid individual issue.
Okay. See, as somebody who is, I love Marvel, I love DC, I love Star Trek, I love Star Wars. I'm not as in depth with the lore as people are. Mine is more movie based with a lot of this stuff, you know, and got to throw Lord of the Rings in there because people bring that one in too. But for me, I really liked it. I liked the art style that was in it. Like I said, going to be honest, I don't remember reading the first 4 issues of it. Well, maybe 3 issues. I remember reading one. I just don't remember what it was about. But I thought, interesting story. I thought there were some super dope character designs. Some of those characters looked awesome. It was a little confusing at times, but again, I chalked that up to, at least for me, you know, not knowing all the ins and outs of the universe. But I think the thing that I really liked about this, and probably said it about the last one we read, is it was a cool story with no Skywalkers involved. And it's not that I don't like the Skywalkers in these stories. I just think sometimes it relies too heavily. Like there was, I think it was Rogue One or some other movie where there was no Skywalker, but then you still had Vader. Like they were almost afraid to do a movie without one of those characters in it. This, though, I think that was my favorite part about it. It was its own little self-contained thing that had nothing to do with those folks.
It's true. All right. Catfight number 1. So, for me, this is a book I was pretty excited for. When Dan said that this was going to be on the server, I was like, yay! Because I saw this cover, I read the solicitation, and it sounded like something that I would be into. Let me pull up the solicitation here and just read it to you. It is John Wick meets Kill Bill meets Cats. Felix lives a life of high fashion and indulgence. Sure, he steals to get it, but he gets it on his own nonetheless. When a mysterious character by the name of Schrodinger threatens Felix's only surviving family member in an attempt to recruit him into a crime syndicate, Felix is sent on a globe-trotting game of cat and mouse in a heightened world of colorful criminal masterminds. Everything about that screams, Kyle's going to like this book. It was meh. I will say this. I would be interested in reading a number 2 to continue to see if maybe this is just like one of those books that has pilot syndrome, where the first episode is the first issue is so much world building, so much kind of explaining the way things work and who people are and what their motives are, that it doesn't really get to anything. But I just don't know. And that, to me, is really the problem. Yeah. If you're a cat lover, this book is probably for you.
Jeez.
But it was a weird sort of fit for me.
Wow. I totally get that. In fact, I have my own solicitation for this book. And while reading it, explain where my headspace was, it just clicked with me, the Schrodinger. It just clicked with me, the cat. Schrodinger's cat. Yeah. So here's my solicitation for this book. Male Catwoman, master thief from a family of thieves, ex-girlfriend he still works with. I work alone. He's losing his touch. He's in debt. Nefarious person calls with an offer/arrangement. Stop me if you've heard any of this before. I will give issue 2 a shot, but please show me something different, because I really feel like I've got the whole series figured out already after just this one book. This was just, every beat was, okay, this is going to happen. Okay, she's going over here, so he's talking to the guy. You know this is going to happen.
It was a little predictable.
Yeah, I mean, trust me, I would love to be wrong. One thing that I am weird about more than anything is when I say things like this, I would love to eat my words. I would love to be completely wrong about this, because my biggest reason for that is I was one of those people that was like, I like Heath Ledger as an actor. There's no way he could be Joker. And he blew me away. So after that, I was like, you know what? I have to give things a chance. I have to give people a chance. So I'm going to give this book another chance to show me something. But I don't think I'll have to eat my words. I think I already know how this book is going to go. So.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a tough one, but it's worth giving it a shot.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So You've Been Canceled, number 1, doesn't come out until next week. We read it this week because, as you know, and is well documented on this show, Dan is not necessarily a fan of most Mad Cave books.
Yeah.
So we read it so he didn't have to. Jay, do you want to go first or shall I?
Sure, I'll go first with this one.
Go for it.
I'll tell you what. I like this one, and I think the reason that I like this one, though, I'm almost ashamed to admit it, but not really. I was a big fan of the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, The Running Man, when I was a kid. And this is like an extreme Running Man told from the side of the stalkers.
Yes.
You know, I thought it was a cool premise. I thought it was a good first issue. The art on the cover matches the book. And for some people, that might be a weird thing, but I really think that the art matches the tone of the story. So I have no complaints on that one. In this one, again, the gore is great. It is exactly how you think it is. It is a TV show, basically, without getting too spoilery, where if society decides you've been canceled, these guys come after you, and it's live streamed.
So
Oh.
yeah.
I think this one could be, of course, this issue still had a little bit of that predictability before the end of it, but this one was still a lot of fun, and I would tell folks to give this one a shot.
So this reminded me, I didn't think of Running Man immediately, but I thought of an episode of Doctor Who where people are voted on based on like their social standing, and everyone around can vote on them, and whoever's the most popular is the most powerful person in the world, kind of thing. This is sort of the opposite of that, in that if you're Harvey Weinstein, you're going to get your head blown off, basically, is the premise of this book. And Jay mentioned it, the gore is great, and it's cartoony. Like, it isn't a super bloody book, because all of a sudden the blood is like teal and yellow and blue and awesome. Yeah. I really liked that. I thought this was it's fine, John. It's one of those things for people. Ed, well, I'm going to tell you in just a minute, Ed, I think, but here's the deal. This is one of those books that could have been very political. It's Kurt Pyers, who has had some tendencies like that. I love Kurt Pyers' writing, but he has had some tendencies like that. This is one of those books that if you're in that get woke, go broke camp, you could have said, oh, this is just promoting cancel culture, and ignored. You would have been wrong. This is a very different thing. Jay said it best when it's like The Running Man. It's like some of these concepts where it's taking something that we all kind of know and understand and turning it up to 35 and breaking the knob off. I thought this was fantastic. Well, TMNT Saturday Morning Adventure might have been the best book of the week. This, for me, was second best.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure, it's a little predictable in places. It's got some moments of, I see what you did there. Yeah. Or I saw that coming. But at the same time, it has moments of, there's two sides to every story and not everything's the same. And I think there's more to this book than we've seen in the first issue. It kind of ends on this cliffhanger moment that I don't think is so much of a cliffhanger as it is a continuation. Or a flip of the coin. If I had to predict, there's a panel at the end that sort of supposedly sets up the rest of the series, where a theory is posited as to why certain things are happening. I don't think that's what's happening. I'll be interested to see. Ed asks, is this one for me? I would say this. Anyone in the chat, Ed, John, JD, Ship, I don't think any of you would dislike this book. I think if you're watching this show right now and you've not heard of You've Been Canceled, if you've not bought a Mad Cave book, call your local comic shop up right now and be like, hey, I want to order this one. If you don't like it, I apologize. I can't give you your money back. But this is the kind of book that in my store, I would have offered a money back guarantee to anybody I recommended this book to. So if that's not a big enough, cheerlead for it, then I don't know what is. Do you agree, Jay? This is definitely for Ed. This is definitely for John.
Yeah.
John, it might drive you with someone in your background into television production. But it's one of those. It's just a cool idea. Yeah. I really like it. So definitely pick this one up. I will say the one thing on this book, is the art on it is a little different than what you might be used to. In that sense of it looks like the cover. If you were turned off by the art on Don't Spit Into the Wind, it's not quite that grungy, grimy, weird looking. But it's not super clean like you see in some of the other books we look at. It's got this kind of weird in the middle feel to it. So,
right. I was just gonna say, I know he's not here, but I still want to hear Dan's opinion on that. I want to see if maybe he read this or will read it.
I haven't sent it to him. I will.
Okay. I just want to hear what his thoughts on it. Maybe this might be the one Mad K book he's like, yeah, it was all right.
I'll send it to him right now. So let me click on that, and I'm going to send Dan this book. Jay, why don't you go over the schedule for the rest of tonight and tomorrow?
Okay, so coming up next, we are going to have Minute to Skim It. I want to say it's going to be Miss Jen and Alfie. Jenna took the day off because, again, we came back from Comicpalooza, so she's a little wore out. We don't have Mint Hunter tonight because he's on his honeymoon. Again, James, congratulations on that, man. Then tomorrow, we're going to start the day out with the Dan Wickline show. Completely forgot what Dan's talking about tomorrow, but it's probably got some spoilery stuff in it. Then after that, it should be Comic Collectibles with AR Comics. Always a fun show. I did miss them on Monday, but I understand taking off. Then after that is 3T with Chuck Pinot. Talk and Treats Trivia. That's the part I always forget. Awesome trivia show. I swooped in there the other night because there was a Ryan Reynolds question that was just bugging me that nobody got it. Like people forgot he's Canadian. Then after that is 360 Comics with Alex, I believe. I know I'm missing one. No, that's it.
Henry's off
on Thursday. Oh, he's off. Okay.
Henry's off because he's getting ready. He's dealing with his Kickstarter. So that's the thing. And Dan's topics for the rest of the week are he's going to do the best 10-issue Fantastic Four run.
Oh, that's right.
And a review and breakdown of Citadel.
That's okay. That's what it was. Hey, Castle, real fast. Are you friends with Robbie or John Cole or any of them? Because I'll just friend you on Facebook. That'd be easier. And I can send you my email that way because I kind of don't
John,
want to
you can reach out. You can reach out through the experience, and I can get Jay's information that way too.
That too. Either way, it's just I kind of don't want to give it out. Not that anybody would bother me with emails.
I really should just make Jay an experience email, shouldn't I?
I probably should. Well, you probably should because my 8,000 Hotmail messages. I still have Hotmail. It's not even called Hotmail anymore, but I still have it.
Maybe I do that tonight. Okay. So, John, hit me up. You know how to get a hold of me, and I will get you Jay's info, and we will make that happen for you, sir. All right. So, guys, as always, here on The Experience, it's super important to us that you visit your local comic shop. Local comic shops are the backbone of fandom. We believe that. And we certainly are proponents of that. I'll send you my EXP email in the chat so you can email me directly. I don't mind sharing this email with the world because it's the email the EXP mailer comes out from. So head over to comicshoplocator.com, comicshoplocator.com, and type in the area code, zip code of where you are, and it will tell you where there are comic shops nearby to you. I visited Traverse City, Michigan this weekend, and I got to visit Traverse City's Top Comics. That's the name of the store. Great little comic shop. And several other comic shops throughout the state of Michigan on my way to and from the con. So that was a great, including the Comic Signal, and Vault of Midnight and Tardy's Comics in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and several other great stores throughout the state. So make sure you visit localcomicshop.com. Plan your vacations around it. Are you going on vacation? Plan your vacation around comicshoplocator.com. Comicshoplocator.com, comicshoplocator.com. Also, sign up for the EXP mailing list. I work really hard on those things. It's a thing.
They're great. I actually look at them, y'all. I look at them.
Yeah, when he gets them. So, we will see everybody next time on In Stores This Week, where Dan will be back. Stay tuned in just about 3 minutes' time for Minute to Skim It with Miss Jen and the Alf Cat. And we will see everybody then. Bye, guys.